This is Dave McCain with the Right Tree Genealogy doing a follow-up video on the one I just did in September of 2023. And this is specifically on the one part toward the end of that video. If you watch the entire video, and at the end of it I mentioned we had a person who tested into our project. I should have said he tested and joined our project because he had Barton matches. So this is a follow-up on his because he's actually done a complete Big Y now. Bringing the whole story, or as I used to say, Paul Harvey moment, is he has 192 actual matches total at Y37. There are other surnames here. He has a different surname than any name that's showing up in this list. When I talk about it and talk to people about it, a 0 to 2 at Y37 is where you should focus. 0 is better. 1 or 2, genetic distance or steps, or should we say ySTR differences between you and another tester. Okay. So I readjusted the screen here so I could make it easier to show what I want to talk about, the steps. When I sort his matches by Barton, he does have a 3-step. He has a couple of 3 steps and then 4 on his list. When you see a 4 or even a 3, it's very likely that you're very distant from them. The tester in hand, the person who did this test and matched or joined our project, has some different mutations in his first 37 that lead to his number being genetic distance of 3 and 4 to our testers. With the steps being 3 to 4, then let's look at clearing this right here, Xing this out, and seeing his total list. You focus on your matches at 37 and above. So here's what goes on for him. As I bring this up, I'm going to scroll it up a hair and notice this right here. He has no matches at Y111 or 67. Well, his first group of people who he has 2 steps with, and again, that's at the edge of what I consider who you should consider matching with. Trying to find what project. We encouraged him to join the Gilliland project here because his top matches at Y37 were actually the surname Gilliland, and that's not his last name. However, he's definitely still in our project, and he's going to continue to be allowed to be on our project. He's just in a different group. We put him in an area of our project that has other Bartons that do not actually have any additional matches. We just want to continue to try to help him since he joined our project. And that's what all project admins should do, is try to help other testers find where they belong on the haplo tree and potentially find a project that works better for them. Now let's go over to his block tree. I'm going to move myself out of the way on here. So I've moved myself up out of the way on this one so we can see his results here. He is underneath the FT2R, FT255293. Underneath specifically his white bar branch here is BY21598. You notice there's a group of individuals that have all these defined or named SNPs, and then they break down this area here. And another thing, and I do not have it turned off, he doesn't have any individuals that are matching him with the name shown in his block tree, in his area of his block tree. None of these names are showing up. The reason none of those names show up is twofold. One, and I will go based on the ySTRs. If you match somebody at Y37, 67, or 111, and it could be all of them or one of any of those 3, and they've done a SNP test or they've done a Big Y, which is more specific here, they'll show up on this list as a match for you. You'll see the names. In this case, you have these individuals that have tested all the way across here, and not one of them match the prime tester that's showing here. What this means is this individual has more SNP variations and STR variations than any of his matches in the system. He is very distant to any of the group. We're talking in our estimation, if you literally, and I'm just going to do a quick calculation for you here. I'm going to take my handy dandy calculator here on my phone, and let's just use 50 years per SNP, and let's just use the private variant average of 31. So you take those two numbers, 31 times 50, not the 83 that's typical. That's 1,550 years. That's just using the 50 basis to get to this. At this point, he has no valid testers, even if we can get it and say, oh, well, that's a high number, 1,000 years. He's not within 1,000 years of any of the testers that are in this area over here in this section or going up over in this one. He's got a possibility to break his apart in this area. Let's back this up a second and look at his match list. Now we're over in his match list. He has no matches, okay? Not a surprise here. He didn't show anybody on his block tree, and he didn't show anybody that matched him Y37 and above that have, and I've looked at this already, I just didn't show it on here. The terminal SNPs of the other blocks do not show up in his data. I've searched for those, and there's the way to do that. You can go in and sort by haplogroup in the match list, and then you can search for that specific one in the list to see, hey, here's actually the person that matches. None of them did when I looked at it. His private variants for him, he actually has 33 of his own. 33. Again, using that number from earlier, let's just use an easy number. Let's be very generous. We're looking at 1,000 years to any of the matches. It is what I want to say right now. I don't see how he can match anybody any closer than that. Realistically, that's in the database today. Now, what I would encourage him to do is find those testers that are not BigY tested, that in his match list of 37, since he has none at 67 or 111, and I want to look at something else for us. So let's go back to the ySTR matches and look at something that's significant for him. Now, I cannot show you the names of the individuals. His top matches in this list are tested at only Y37, okay? His top, those that are matched to him with 2 steps at Y37, going down this list, there's not one of those that have tested, and here's one that pops up over here side, and it is a different surname. Every one of his top matches, and I'm going down through them right now, one of them is tested at 67 and has 2 steps. But the rest of his top matches are not tested past that. So every one of his 2 steps are, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 of his 2-step matches that are not BigY tested. I would encourage him to contact these individuals to see if they'll possibly upgrade to a BigY 700. It is plausible one of them will match him and show up on his match list. Then he could have a better feeling or better understanding of where he is in the haplo tree. I wanted to show you how a person at a Y37 can look like they show convergence to Barton's in our case, or in our project we had him in lineage 1 because of Y37, but we were very cautious because he had, the closest he was 3 steps and 4 steps to Barton's. Put him into the lineage 1. We have now moved him into the non-matching area. We've still allowed him to be in the project because he does match some of our Barton's, but he's in a different section of our project. We've encouraged him to join another surname project, and we're going to look to have him see if he can encourage some of his highest matches at 37 to consider upgrading. Will it guarantee him a match? I can't say that. Will it have a possibility for him? There are a couple of surnames there. If those individuals upgrade, it could get him the next step into his progress of finding his lineage, breaking down some of the SNP private variants that he has, and hopefully get him to where he needs to be and know where his lineage actually goes to. There's another thing I want to point out here. His last name is not any of the names that are showing up on the list. It doesn't mean his surname isn't what he calls himself for many generations. It just means that at a point in time in the past, and just like any of us, at some point in time in the past, there's either no surnames that exist or coming from a country that the surname was not taken early. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing right here or watching some of this other content. Let's continue learning together.